last week we had Val Hoyle in to talk about the LaMotta allegations and what she's facing there, and some of the criticisms you've leveled at her throughout the campaign. You want to react to that?
Well, it was interesting that our elected congresswoman, about 50 days from when ballots drop, finally stopped ghosting us and decided to talk about this investigation. Take exception to her calling me a liar. She is under federal investigation. And to call me a liar is to call the Willamette Week, the Eugene Register Guard, and the Daily Beast, the journalists that have done a lot of work to raise awareness to the voters, calling them liars as well. And one of the first things I'll be doing this week is providing the DOJ, Oregon DOJ, and the FBI with that interview that you gave. It's full of, I mean, really we have either a liar or a incompetent congresswoman, or both. I think it's likely both. But she contradicts herself all through that interview and just continues to lie. There's ample evidence that, well, let's just back up and remind the viewers what BOLI, Bureau of Labor and Industries, is charged with doing. It's an elected commissioner who's head of that agency, whose primary focus is to ensure that workplaces in Oregon are safe and free of workplace discrimination, all forms of discrimination, and wage violations and all these things. They are to be in fact, unless things have changed, because it's been a while since I practiced that kind of law, but you actually, if you have a workplace complaint and you want to sue your employer, you need to get a letter of right to sue from BOLI to proceed. They are the watchdog of the workplace. So while Val Hoyle was meeting and dining in expensive restaurants in downtown Portland with the executives of one of the businesses in Oregon, LaMotta, how do you think the victims of LaMotta would have felt about that? At the time that Val Hoyle was meeting with her donors, they donated to her state campaign, about $20,000 to her state campaign for commissioner. How would those victims feel if they knew that they had filed complaints with BOLI for workplace discrimination, unsafe work conditions, and I think there was a LaMotta employee that even said he was required to charge his own debit card to pay for LaMotta utility bills at one of the businesses? How would they feel? So there are complaints pending, about 11. I think there have been more than 11, but 11 during the time that Val Hoyle was commissioner, that they don't have a voice, that they don't get to talk to the BOLI commissioner, that they just, on its face, that's unethical. In the interview, Val Hoyle says she was fooled. Well, we don't elect representatives that are so vulnerable to being fooled. Her job is to protect the workforce using, Oregon law, what I just said. And there's more than one example of where she failed to understand that we are to ensure a discrimination-free workplace for people. Not only with her shenanigans, her unlawful favors to LaMotta, which are well documented, but also when she and all of this costs us, the taxpayer, but also when she failed to protect one of her own direct reports. There was a very serious civil rights lawsuit, civil rights violation right there in her own civil rights department of BOLI. She hired a highly credentialed black lady who was the head of the Civil Rights Division, who went and talked to the commissioner about how she herself was experiencing racial discrimination. And the right thing didn't happen under Val Hoyle's leadership. When you're in charge, when you're the commander, when you're the commissioner, when you're the boss, there's no better position to be in to fix the problem. She failed to fix racial discrimination right under her nose. And it cost the Oregonians about $2 million plus $3 million. There's a jury award that substantiated that discrimination had taken place. What that underscores is Val Hoyle's dearth of leadership skill. I don't know where she would have picked up any leadership skills because she's been an elected politician, but that's a very serious problem for Oregonians, to not have a representative who knows who recognizes discrimination and who will do something about it. So the fact that she was meeting with businesses while there were cases pending before BOLI is just reprehensible behavior. It's unlawful. And then Val Hoyle said she talks to all the businesses this way. And so I will suggest to the Department of Justice that they audit, that they take a look at all the grants that were awarded to businesses during Val Hoyle's tenure. Because if she was doing what she did with LaMotta, with other business owners too, again, that's a classic pay-to-claim scheme that's very unethical, and she's doing favors for special interests. Now, if you had a business and you were applying for a grant through Bully, how would you feel to find out that your competitor, for a limited amount of money, was able to, the commissioner of Bully was texting, getting organized, asking for second chances for one of your competitors that was asking for a grant? This is what Val Hoyle was doing, and there's ample evidence of that.
You said she's under investigation. She says she's not under investigation. The Department of Justice hasn't given an indication, excuse me, that she is under investigation. How do you know she's under investigation?
Well, there are news reports that say that the journalists have said. I think it's interesting how sometimes people want to believe what the news says and sometimes they don't want to believe what the news says. But there's investigative journalism, the Daily Beast, the Register Guard, and the Willamette Week, who say they've confirmed with DOJ that she is under investigation. Now, I've conducted many complex investigations over my years as a JAG, and then, it's kind of part of practicing law and representing people. And it's very typical that an investigator won't come and talk to the subject of an investigation right out of the gate. In fact, it was really interesting that Val would submit to the interview that she did because, she's under investigation. So that was a risk that she took. So
you don't think that she would know that she's under, or that she might not know that she's under investigation?
Well, it's interesting in the interview. Did you notice how she said that she knows what the FBI is investigating with LaMotta, Cazares, and this is what they've asked for? But yet she tells the viewers, she tells us, that she hasn't talked to anybody, but she sure seemed to know a lot about the case. How would that be? I mean, is she lending credence to what's in the news? Like all of us voters, we need to kind of rely on truthful reporting. But there are public records that have been referenced numerous times that suggest there was an improper relationship. And now we have her on record saying she has that kind of relationship with all kinds of businesses. And again, what about the victims of these businesses? LaMotta is the one we're talking about now. 11 people that worked. What about all the creditors? They have a remarkable number of creditors, people that are suing them for their wrongdoing, for taking money from them. There's a harassment case. There's a landlord whose luxury home was absolutely trashed. There's all these pending lawsuits. How is it that the commissioner doesn't know that she has to protect, any young airman in the Air Force has enough training to understand that when you're in a position of authority, which every airman in the Air Force is, you're going to be vulnerable to bad actors approaching you and trying to get what we call OPSEC, trying to get information from you. Your young airman in the military or soldier would know to be suspicious if somebody comes out of the crowd of all the businesses that I deal with, of all the people I know, and they ask to have a nice dinner downtown to talk about a grant that they'd really love to have. This is not the kind of person we want representing the district. How is Val Hoyle going to handle the bad actors in Washington, D.C. that want to take advantage of Oregon? It wasn't just Val Hoyle being taken advantage of and fooled. She let the people of Oregon be taken advantage of. They're still being taken advantage of by LaMotta. They still have about 21 stores. They're a very large distributor. 6 of them are in my district, and I know exactly where they are. And they are bad actors. They don't pay their taxes like we have to. They're millions of dollars in arrearages, 30 plus lawsuits against them. And we have an elected representative that is, first of all, was besties with them, doing favors for them, and now she denies it. It's all in contradiction to all the evidence.
We do know that the DOJ is investigating LaMotta. That's clear, and former Secretary of State Shemia Fagan as well. If they are indeed investigating Representative Hoyle, why not just let the investigation play out and we can see if they find wrongdoing.
Oh, well, that's what we're going to do. I'm responding to, like I said, this running for Congress in this district feels like a truth tour. It's really interesting. Boley, like I said, tasked with eliminating workplace discrimination. On Boley's own website, they talk about what that looks like, and gender characteristics are one of them. If you're a woman, you have certain characteristics. And our own Congresswoman, who was the commissioner of Boley, accused the woman running against her of shrieking about the district. That is a gender characteristic disparagement, and very consistent with how she treated other women on her staff at Boley. But my point is, I'm not shrieking. I am speaking loud and clear and honestly across the district that one of the many reasons I'm running for Congress is that we have a corrupt career politician who is not serving our district or our country. That's one of the reasons I'm running. And so I have to tell the story. Just like you in journalism, you have to tell the story. The biggest enemy of our nation is just apathy and people not paying attention. This is a representative government, so we citizens have a lot of work to do to pay attention to who we put forward to carry the voice of Oregon to Washington, D.C. So I'm doing my job in describing why I'm running. One reason is we have a corrupt career politician, and I'm telling that story along with the story of, I hear you. We are really suffering from the public safety challenges that we have. We are suffering economically because we cannot access the natural resources that this district relied so heavily on. And so law enforcement isn't funded like it needs to be. Government transparency and accountability is my third major platform issue, and my work has begun with revealing the story of Val Hoyle and her corruption and the fact that she's under federal investigation. That's what transparency looks like, and that's the first step in cleaning up Washington, D.C., is to take care of the seat that's in my district that represents me, my family, my neighbors, and this district.